Alrighty, guys, welcome to Confusing Bits. I'm Corey, and let's talk about A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. It's a very famous book series. They made a television show, HBO. You probably heard of it, and that's how I had my introduction to the series was on the TV show. So loved the show, of course, and that's what kind of inspired me. I picked up a whole bunch of books whenever I decided to go on my try a bunch of different fictional series, and this is one of the series that I try to pick up. We got a Leviathan Wakes, and then the Discworld series, and the Dresden Files, and then what is the name of this? It's I can't remember the name of it. Wheel of Time. The Wheel of Time series. So we're going to be trying all of those. Oh, get back up there. Whatever. It's fine. It's fine. So, just to give you a little heads up. I'm sorry, this is going to bother me. There we go. All done. So, just give you a little heads up. If you're watching the video or whatever, what we do here is a book review. I ramble around, and I give you the too long didn't read, too long didn't watch. It's good. I wouldn't say it's necessarily. It's slightly different than the show, but it's pretty good. And I will be continuing to the next one. So. It's a thumbs up, and stick around if you want to know more. But before we get into that, I want to talk about because what's coming up in the queue or whatever. So we have the stuff on the top here is stuff that's in the queue that I haven't read yet. Some of the stuff I'll actually probably never get to. Like, some of these books are just books that I got as gifts or whatever, and they're not really sit down read type books or whatever, and I just haven't gotten to figuring out what I'm going to do with them. Over here are the books that I've read and that we're going to do a review on. So over the next couple weeks, if you follow the channel, you're going to see this stack getting smaller because we're doing a stack of book reviews. We're going to be doing all of these book reviews in one go. And this is what I'm currently reading, and this is a technical book that I'm reading. But that's the status if you're nerdy and you wanted to know. But so Game of Thrones. So I read this on audiobook. By the way, if you want to learn if you want to get back into reading or whatever, and want to read more, I get near about all my reading done in my morning walk. It's a 1 mile walk, and I listen on audiobook, and I go through all of these books without any effort. I spend almost no time reading, dedicated reading anymore. But anyway, so Game of Thrones. I will say I liked it. It's not like if you're not familiar with the series, it's kind of a medieval fantasy kind of world, but it's not like a bunch of magic or anything like that, or overt magic. It isn't like there's wizards walking around like constantly throwing spells and big heroes. It's kind of a real kind of grimy, gritty, kind of realistic kind of world or whatever. It's famous. I don't know if the series is famous for killing off characters, and some things happen in this book that are consistent with that theme. It's great. I don't know. I don't want to string this off. It's Game of Thrones, guys. It's great. One thing that was a little bit surprising that I noticed in the book is all the characters are far younger than they were in the show, which makes sense because there's some really, I guess it's appropriate for the quote period or whatever for people to be that young doing those sorts of things. But yeah. So a lot of the characters are like 14 years old or something like that. Like Daenerys, she's getting wed to whatever. I don't know how much I should spoil this. It's like a really old book. I don't want to spoil it, but anyway, yeah. One of the characters is a young lady. She's a princess, and she's getting married off to some other dude. And she's like 14 years old or whatever, which I guess historically happened, right? That was common, right? But it was a little weird because I'm picturing like the scenes. That was another thing. Reading the book, I would see really the scenes in the show again, but it was a little off-putting because some of these scenes were talking about a 13 or 14-year-old girl or whatever. I'm like, a little grimacing a little bit, but I'll hand wave it. I get why they made the change for TV, because this is HBO. They want to show the sex scenes, and there are sex scenes in here, but it's a 14-year-old girl, so yeah. But this is a grimy book. This is not a book for it's an adult book. Let's put it this way. It's not like porn or anything like that, but it's definitely deals with adult topics. Let's put it that way. And I liked it. I will say I enjoyed it, and especially because I liked the series so much, the TV series so much, and I wanted to read the books because I heard how much the books are better. And I get that a lot of the characters are a little bit more fleshed out, especially if you can hear like their inner dialogue of what's going on with them a little bit, and understand them a little bit more deeply. So I could see how that's going to pay off a little bit longer. I can understand these characters a little bit more, but at the same time, especially with this first book, it is so much like almost beat for beat, almost scene for scene what I remember from the show. Maybe the scene orders changed or they cut things slightly, but I remember reading the book and I was like, oh my god, this thing is, they basically just took this chapter and then this chapter, this is scene, this is it's almost like they just a direct translation into the show. It was really I think I got about halfway through the book before and I was getting like, is this entire book going to be just the book form of the show? And then eventually there were some things started to develop a little bit more, and I started to get a little bit more insight that wasn't, didn't come across in this on the screen, especially like the character development and internal things like, particularly with like Sansa and stuff like that, things she went through. So, and then I don't remember Rob having so much issues. I think it's Rob. I'm going to get the characters' names wrong because I'm terrible at remembering names, but like I don't remember like some of the internal dialogue I don't remember that coming across. I remember Rob is like the older Stark, right? I don't remember him having that much to do. He was just like the stalwart hero figure or whatever for like the first few seasons, and you didn't. He was kind of one-dimensional in that aspect or whatever. And I think they fleshed him out a little bit. Seemed like they fleshed him out a little bit more than what I remember from the show. But anyway, I've only watched through the show once, to be clear. It's not like I've rewatched it again and I've analyzed it in depth. But anyway, I am rambling. This is the book review is complete. I do highly recommend it, even if you have seen the show. I do. If you are a fan of Game of Thrones and you want to understand the characters a little bit more deeply, and get lore, and especially if you're like me and you were disappointed with the last season or two, this gives me a second chance to fall in love with the series again, because that last season, this is not a spoiler, it's just a warning. The last season of Game of Thrones was so bad it retroactively made the entire series bad, which is terrible because it was like one of my favorite shows. So anyway, I'm hoping that as I continue more of this series, it will reinvigorate the spark of love that I have for this series, and I will be getting the second book pretty soon, and we will be continuing. So look forward to that. Oh, by the way, as I record this is April 22nd. You're probably going to see this. The last video I have is June 25th, so you're going to probably see this in July, and then the rest of these, as I finish them up, is probably going to go into August. So I just realized that there's a little bit of a time delay going on because it's just too many books. Anyway, if we get more than a 6-month backlog, we'll start doubling up on the videos, but we're not quite there yet. Anyway, I recommend George R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones, and I will see you guys on the next one.